Hello guys, this is Tom here. It's been a little while. I think this is maybe my first real video for this year. So happy new year everybody. I hope everybody's well. You know, I want to talk about a few things that kind of matters to me. We are in 2026. You know, there are so much money circulating around in the society, in the world. There's so much money circulating, and with everything that is going on, I'm talking about technology. It seems like everything is becoming like fixed. Imagine that you are belonging to a system or a company that start to use advanced technology, artificial intelligence, more and more and more. Maybe I mentioned this is in another video, that imagine you decide to, okay, I'm gonna start becoming an accountant today, or I'm gonna become a graphic designer, or even a digital marketer. You know, everything you're doing as like a modern white collar job, they are becoming much more related on this new technology, this AI technology. I mean, it's obvious by now. And if you don't see it, you're not working in this field, or you are maybe too old to understand. I don't know what the case may be, but what I want to say is that you cannot just, okay, I'm gonna be an accountant, for example, and just rely on traditional methods of work, of labor. You know, you will have to incorporate and learn how to use the technology, because if you don't, you will be replaced by it. I mean, I shouldn't actually have to talk about this, because in all honesty, I feel there are so many people that are talking about this, and it's on everybody's lips, everybody's mouths. Everyone is talking about it, and that's fine. So I'm talking about it as well. So what I'm seeing it is, when I say that there's so much money circulating, it is even more now, and it will be even more, because these technologies, as we know, they work full-time, non-stop, all the time, constantly, without having to worry about human needs. And on one hand, yeah, it's great, but what does it do with people? There already is, but it will be even more money in terms of technology to technology. I saw a very interesting, it's not a research, it was a video about this topic. The AIs, for example, if you have a big company that is very doing a lot of investments in this technology, and you start to build structures. The AI is doing business with other companies, so it's the technology and technology is doing business together, and that leaves a lot of human beings outside of this technological revolution, if you wish, but also this technological structure, because it is a structure. So the AI is going to start to build structures, build entities, build or develop corporations to become more powerful, automatized, and that means that there are just these entities essentially that is doing the business with each other. So for example, if I go back to the example with being an accountant, just let my dog here, parents' dog. You will not really need that accountant in a traditional manner. You will actually just rely on the machines, and then like one person to manage the machine or control the machine essentially. And this is also in relation to every other job. You know, many jobs, people are falling outside. That's why we see so many difficulties with like junior positions, recent graduates. Doesn't matter how skilled you are on one hand, because it just doesn't care. You can have a master's, you can be a PhD, you can have doctorated, you can have done a lot of experience, but if you are outside of this AI technology, it becomes almost like a living organism, you know? if you're left out of this structure, if you are not in kind of like it's so interesting and it's very abstract what I'm talking about, but if you are not in some kind of leading position where you use the technology to benefit the company, you are on the outside, and that means that you also you will lose a job. I guess every person is questioning, what can I do? Like, what can I do in this situation? And that's on my mind all the time. I think it's on on everybody's minds to some degree, because who wants to be? I hear all of these elitists, these people with the access to this or in control of these technologies. They're speaking as if everyone will have whatever they want, whatever they need, as much of it as they can, as they possibly can. Like, you can have unlimited resources, you can buy whatever you want as much as you want. Like, what kind of utopia is that? Is that real? I have a hard time believing in that. Let's play with the idea in 5, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know, doesn't really matter. Let's just play with the idea that you and I will be able to have whatever we want, as much of it as we want. That means like unlimited resources of access to food, home, travels, assets. Like, what happens with the humanity if we have access to all of these things? I don't know what happens, to be honest. I don't think anyone knows. But I can kind of predict, if we think that society right now is kind of messed up in a lot of ways, what will then happen if everyone can just have, because we know that's very interesting when we think about it. Humanity is very driven by greed. We see greed everywhere. I have faced greed many times in my life, in the sense of being taken advantage of, working for free. It's so expensive, everything, and you're working for free. It's hilarious. It really is a joke. Humanity is full of greed. Just take everything you can. You know, you've seen it throughout history. You saw it during the pandemic. People just, what do you call it? You know, when they take as much as they can without thinking about your fellow man. And it's something disgusting about it. And you know, I think I never talked about this. I had a real scary dream like a few years ago. It may not sound very scary to you who hear this, but to me it was very scary. It was very apocalyptic. And I'll tell you what happened. So I was in the grocery store, and I don't know if there was some kind of epidemic or some kind of, if there was war or there was something going on in society, in the world. I don't know specifically what it was, but I remember that I was looking at this grocery item. I think it was like the last piece of meat or some kind in the freezer, in the cold, in the refrigerator. I'm about to pick it up, but next to me come up this father who was older than me. Maybe, I couldn't tell like the real age, but maybe he was in his 40s, 50s. And kind of like just ripped it out of my hand. And he had like 1 or 2 kids next to him. And he just looked at me with the determination in his eyes, like that he was going to have that last piece of meat to feed his children. And he would do it if it meant he had to beat me up or kill me. Because that was like the eyesight of him. He was so determined that he was he was having that to feed his children. And it was something very dark about that, but also it's very understandable, you know. I think that when you have children, there is like nothing that can stop you from getting what you need to get food on the table for them. So it's very understandable in that situation. It's just like something that I felt very real, and maybe that's really what is about to come. But yeah, back to this with the greed. That was probably not necessarily greed, it was more about protectionism and supply, or provide rather. And nowadays I'm just, okay, we are going towards like some real strange place. What will happen with the humanity, and what will happen with personal meaning if that doesn't happen, where you just always have a constant supply that meets the demand, like multiplied by a million. I was gonna say multiplied by 100, but multiplied by a million. Like what? I think that really is going to make people like some kind of zombies. And I think the empathy, sympathy, maybe I'm wrong, maybe all of our problems as humanity will be solved by then. Maybe that's when we all can unite, when everybody have their needs met, everything is fulfilled, everything is like perfect in terms of, it's called martial law, when you have shelter, food, and everyone can fulfill their their dreams, or they can fulfill their wishes, and they can always do what they want because everything is always, all the needs is constantly met. I don't know, either that or there is something way more dark that happened, that we are just becoming complete zombies, always just, maybe people seek something else that they don't get through having a meaning through jobs and work and being needed and being of use. So maybe we start to just consume a lot of unhealthy habits and just basically destroy ourselves. Very philosophical and open question. But yeah, I think that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. I wanted to share my thoughts about how much money right now is circulating in our economy. Still people cannot just seem to get in. And there are all these wealthy people, like older generations, that have and they hold so much wealth and so much assets. That's what's important to remember also. The older generation, they have the majority of the assets, and it cannot be compared how, it's wrong to say it was easier, but the economy was different to get into a market and be able to afford assets before, like, I don't know, 50 years ago or 20 years ago. There are many people that speak about this topic that are way more detailed with the numbers, but I just know the fact that to getting assets today, and even getting into a market or basic jobs and stuff like that, it's a whole other world today. All right, I think that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.